Okay. Just delete that one. Is anybody there? Let me refresh it and see what's going to happen. Because the first time I did it, I had it live, and then I was adjusting my face and like that, and I go like, "Did you know your camera was there?" I was like, "Of course I know." But I think it was just kind of awkward for people to see. Mm-hmm. Okay, so now it's not probably so. Yeah. Yes. Oh, there's one person there. Yay! Who joined? Who's the savior? Wait. Who's that person joining? Who's the person joining? Hello. Oh, it's... Hi, Rames. Hey, Yazid. Oh, my goodness. Okay. Oh, Sanke. Oh, great. They're coming now. Okay. All right. I'm just going to go ahead and get started. All right, everyone. Welcome to the More Sibyl Podcast Show, a show about culture and cultural nomads designed for Blacks and Asian and those who love them. Today, I have a wonderful guest on the show, and I met them last year, right? Yeah. The way it happened was I'd gone on we're at a conference, and we're at a meeting for, was it minority faculty? Mm-hmm. And they were talking about women in the workplace and women in academia, how it seems like there's a high attrition rate of women not making like tenure, women not doing, making like dean's list, being deans and all that. I can't remember what comment I gave, but anyway, I spoke up. I stood up and I spoke up. It was my first time. And then after the meeting, she was like, "Hey, I loved your comments. Where you work and all of that." And that was it. What I was trying to point out there is that sometimes if you want to give yourself like an opportunity to connect with people, you have to stand up in a room and talk and push yourself a little bit. So, as some of you might know, I also, in addition to doing this, I have a full-time job that pays the bills. I'm an assistant professor, and she's also an assistant professor. And I wanted to bring her on today just so we can talk about, several factors like, being female in a male-dominated field and how to just navigate that space. And also even being Nigerians, coming from Nigeria, how we're able to end up in this position. And a unique thing about her is she's basic sciences. I'm not. I'm more of the outcomes and product thing. So we're going to talk about how she went into that. She has a special skill set that I think, people can also learn from. And then we'll just talk about some of the challenges and the triumphs of being in academia. So her name is Dr. Iwuchukwu Otito, but her friends call her, is it Oti or Oti? Okay. She's a pharmacist and a former management consultant, and she turned a college professor. She studies pharmacogenomics, which is kind of like how our genes influence or impact our responses to drugs and food. And outside of academia, she's also a cooking enthusiast. She's actually made Korean fried rice, kimchi bokkeumbap, and she has a YouTube page. She runs something called the Momstaurant. She's also a mom to two adorable creatures she calls Child 1 and Child 2. Is it like thing 1, thing 2? And they add color to her life in and out of the kitchen. She also has very deep culinary roots in the West African coast, specifically Nigeria. And she likes to think of herself as a culinary mixologist. She loves traveling around the world. So everyone join me in welcoming, should I call you Dr. Ochukwu or Otito? Otito, yeah. All right.
Otito.
And we're recording live from our hotel room here in Boston. All right, so tell us just a little bit more about you.
Hi, everyone. So as Mo said, my name is Otito. I grew up for the first 2 decades of my life in Nigeria. I was working as a management consultant, and then I had this very bright idea of going to grad school. And so I relocated to the US, and then I went to grad school at Temple University in Philadelphia. Then after grad school, as if 5.5 years of schooling was not enough, I went on, I did a postdoctoral fellowship at Vanderbilt University in Tennessee, and then I transitioned to my current position. So
good. I think the first question I want to ask you is, usually most of the people that come here, they end up in public health type kind of field.
Yeah.
You went straight to the basic sciences,
yeah,
which even though is not rare, but I feel it's not very common amongst Nigerian pharmacists, immigrants.
Yeah.
So how was your path like, and what would you say shaped that path for you?
So when I was in school, I really liked chemistry. I still do like chemistry, and I have to say it informs my love for cooking, because it's the whole, reactants and products. You put two reactants together and you get a product. So I wanted to really continue with graduate studies in pharmaceutical chemistry, pharmaceutical analysis. And I'm not sure if I ever told this, but I actually came to do my master's, and then I got talked into going the whole hog and getting a PhD. So that's what happened, really.
Good. And then you got your PhD as well along the way.
Uh-huh.
And why academia? Why tenure-track?
So I guess tenure-track just depends on the institution that I find myself, but academia has always been something that I've always said I'll do, if not as a first-time thing. Maybe after I've, explored the world and worked, I wanted to come back to teaching, because I really truly believe that teachers, they make a huge difference in terms of, so my love for chemistry did not start from college, it started from high school. I had the best chemistry teacher in the whole wide world. And even though I went to college and got not so great experiences with chemistry, the love that she had instilled from high school just carried itself through to today. So I kind of feel like there's different stages in life that educators, as it were, make a difference in a person's life. And I wanted to be part of that special crop of people.
Yeah. So you kind of touched on the next thing I was going to ask, which is about mentoring.
Yes.
And we've had extensive conversations about that. And you've told me two things that I can recollect vividly. How mentoring helped shape your life in some aspects. And also the inverse of it was how you wish you were mentored better in certain areas. Could you speak more about that, please?
So mentoring, you for me, I kind of feel like you can't get anywhere, at least in a field that you've not traditionally been in, without a good mentor. So grad school, typically they would call your, project advisor your mentor. It was almost like a de facto thing. So in that sense, I had a very good mentor who was very driven, who, had like set goals. And so she made sure that my graduate study was really successful, right? That happened in that sense. But in terms of maybe mentorship as to other aspects of life, of just being a woman in academia, she may not have been the greatest person for that, because that wasn't her focus. She also was focused on making her mark in the academy and being a good professor and all that. So but it is what it is, because having stayed with her, I have all these credentials to my name that everyone says, how did you manage to do all of this in grad school? It's because of my mentor. So she's a very good academic mentor, but that doesn't mean she will be like a good personal mentor or anything like that.
Wow, it's like you see my cheat sheet.
No.
So you talk about different types of mentors, and there's something I learned recently that even though mentors are very important, that women have been historically over-mentored and under-sponsored. And one of the best things you can do for yourself, even if you're not a woman, but just someone navigating this space, is to identify 5 key elements. A mentor, a sponsor, a connector, a point expert, and a close friend. Okay. So a mentor is someone that you frequently consult for advice. A sponsor is someone higher than a mentor in that they have that power, they have those resources. Think of them as your brand magnifier. They can talk you up and put you up in the room. A connector is someone that links you to the people you should know. A point expert is someone who has a wealth of knowledge in your field and shares it with you willingly. And then finally, a close friend is that person who might give you that safe space to cry. I think the problem was that we've turned our mentor as that one-stop shop for everything. And when you overuse people that don't have all the things you need, they get burnt out and they seem like they're not really mentoring you. Do you agree with this, line of thought about different kind of people we should have in our lives as experts?
I completely agree, especially with the concept of mentor and sponsor, because your mentor they may not have the capacity to be able to sponsor you, right? To bring you into the room. Like these days we talk about D&I, which is diversity and inclusion. And there's that, nice saying that says diversity is when you're invited to the dance, but inclusion is when you're asked to dance. Some people just have the capacity to invite you to the dance,
but figure it out yourself.
They may not know how to dance.
One of the biggest things I have an issue with here is to be referred to as, a person of color, or even a softer term, minority. For you being in your program, and I know your program isn't very diverse as far as color diverse, which that's not the kind of diversity I speak to. I prefer diversity of opinions. But let's just play to that factor. How would you say you just being different, has that been like a positive experience for you or not?
Let's see. It has, in a sense, because of my role, I'm able to be the point person, or the person that minority students will come to and gravitate towards. But the truth of the matter is that I have to give it to my institution that this color thing doesn't really come up, right? It doesn't come up in the grand scheme of things, because we have a good administrator who I kind of feel he doesn't even see that. Like his goal is to get the school to where he needs it to be. And so you only see it on a personal level, but not from decisions made at the top, right? You only see the little snippets of people just being people on a personal level, but it hasn't influenced the way that I work. I don't go to work feeling like, oh, I'm the only, person of color in this place. I do not go to work feeling that way, because I have learned over the years to make my presence felt in a room. The reason being that you worked as hard as I did to get myself in this room. So if you're here and I'm here, that means we both deserve to be here. Nobody was a token appointment or whatever. So I've learned that over the years to, just do what I need to do.
I agree with that. That's also my, MO. Like, I try not to think of, just what I am as far as, my composition, but more what I can bring to the table. But then a bias of that could be, because we're Nigerians, first and foremost. And that wasn't really our reality. So coming here, having to be part of that, it takes a while to kind of warm up. And we're not denying agency to those people that have been, victimized or discriminated based on their skin color. I do agree that those issues are real. But as a Nigerian, it's not the first thing I jump on board to. And I think sometimes that can be a protective factor as well. You were a grad student as well as, you were a grad student at the time. And I remember you just telling me some of the issues you had. You're very bold. You're very, very bold. Like,
I hear that quite a bit, but I don't consider myself a bold person. I just
you speak out. That's that's how it should be. But I don't know, where do you think that comes from? Is it just your personality type, or just people that have mentored you? Back to that mentorship thing again.
I think it's my personality type. I also say that I guess being the last child.
You people, and what do you say?
In the family, you learn to be your own lawyer or your own advocate. Like you're like, nope. Even though I'm the smallest in this room, everyone has to hear my voice, sort of. So I think it also stems from there. But I also think a deeper part of it is I completely detest inequity. So anywhere that I see any, sign of that, or I just see people I'll kind of say something about it.
Not that to you or to anybody?
To anybody.
So almost like even an advocate to other people.
Yes. Too. So it's like, no, I mean, is there anybody not seeing this issue? And then you're like, okay, maybe if people say, well, I'm not seeing, then I step back and say, okay, maybe it was me. But I can't just sit there and not say something. But the reality is that when you say something, everybody says, yes, I saw it. But then I didn't want to be the one saying something. So somehow I get tasked with the one who has to point out the elephant in the room. Maybe not call it out, but just point it out that it's there.
Do you always worry that people might call you the B word?
No.
Like that's the witch with the capital B. For saying things that people want to say, but or do they always just default to, let's just wait for Otito to say it?
No. I that's the thing. And I think that maybe on some grounds, some people will say it's aloof. I don't let these things even kind of really percolate in my mind. Yeah, are people? Yes, they are. Will people behave weirdly? Yes, they will. But I don't let it percolate. And where it does, I try to deal with it. I try to come and I try to put the issue on the table.
Yeah.
But I never make it about me, ever. I make it about the other. Like, I give the other person, like, the power of agency to say, do you see a problem here as I'm seeing? And many times they're quick to walk back and say, oh, no, I didn't mean it that way. I didn't mean that way. And then, you kind of resolve the issue, as opposed to carrying this thing, about with you and making all these assumptions about people.
So, just to conclude that portion, for those that might be sitting on the fence, as far as taking a stand for somebody else and helping, lend that voice of support to someone else that might be discriminated or denied agency, what kind of tips would you give them to be bolder? Without, especially for women, because you don't want to be called abrasive or she's still,
I'll just say something, right. no matter how little, like, and the key thing about saying something is some people will try to silence you. They will. That's just, because their voices are the loudest. But then I would say be insistent, just be quietly insistent and just make sure that what you're saying is being heard. And I have just an aside, even taking this out of pharmacy and academia and all that. I remember being in a store one day, I think it was Bath and Body Works, and this lady was trying to use her coupon, and she was an immigrant, and the girls in the store were being so nasty to her about the coupon. And I stepped up, I said, tell me where on the coupon it says XYZ, like what is the company policy? And they were all like gazing at me and trying to
like, what's your
stare me down. I said, no, I want to see, like, what is the problem? She's just trying to bring business to the store. Why are you guys, treating her this way? So I'm just saying stuff like that. I mean, I wasn't being rude or anything, but I wanted to, because this person couldn't really speak English. And I said, I want to see it on the coupon. Is there anywhere where it says that? Please oblige her, because she's here to spend hard-earned money.
Not just her money,
So
hard-earned,
even if it wasn't hard-earned.
It's still her money,
It's still her money.
She's in possession of that, so she can do whatever she wants with it. Now, graduate students, in talking to you, I realize that we have vast differences and vast experiences, even though we're still considered pharmaceutical sciences. And I think the major thing there is you guys have a lot of labs. You do labs, we don't do labs at all. And that has its politics. Wow. What are some of and you said something about this grave injustice, carried out on graduate students. What were some of the challenges you had?
When you're a lab scientist, you don't really have a life. That's just that's one of the truths, right? You're there slugging it out day in, day out, just trying to get those results. And sometimes it doesn't work and you have to start all over again. So I think that that's kind of one of the big challenges that people who have to work in basic science labs face. Like, you have to be completely committed. It's not a 9-to-5 thing at all.
247.
I mean, I don't know if I would say 247, because now we're trying to tell graduate students to, have self-care and make sure you're thriving. But many times that's not the expectation from, the lab and the culture and all of that. And you don't want to be the weird person who goes home at 5 o'clock.
You don't want to be. For those that are trying to like get into grad school and trying to put the application together, trying to go into basic sciences. Would you advise that if they have the interest?
If they have the interest, yes. But if you don't have the interest, it's not an easy road to walk on. You have to have the big C word. Like, you have to be completely committed to it. If you have the interest, go ahead. Just do it. Don't even, look back, because you might be the next Einstein, right? But if you don't, if you're doing this just, frou-frou, no.
What would you say are some of the traits to have as a grad student to not just make it, but to thrive and survive?
Tenacity, grit. Now everyone is throwing around the word grit. That's what it is.
I can imagine how the Southerners feel about that, because they have their food called
grits, right? Shrimp and grits. So resilience, it's something, because the road to graduate school is a long and lonely road. I wouldn't say miserable.
Miserably lonely. How about that?
It's a long road and it's lonely. So
Yeah.
you have to have the wherewithal to be able to go the distance, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Good. And I remember you told me this story, but I'd like for you to share it again. When you applied to come here, you thought it was one thing, and then when you started, you were like, oh no, this wasn't what I wanted. After taking all of your crosswords, and it was hard to go back.
Yeah.
And then you made a very bold move. See, you're bold. You are bold. You
I
spoke up for
negotiated.
yourself. You started doing negotiating before you started writing about it in books. Tell us what you did again. Oh my goodness. And then she said she's not bold.
So, when I came, I wanted to read a particular course. I wanted to read, analytical chemistry and pharmaceutical analysis, but it turned out that course had been scrapped, or that area of study had been scrapped because the person who was in charge had retired from research. And so it was like, oh, well, these are the options. I said, okay, I'll take the other chemistry area. But then I start to do the work and I realized this is pure synthetic chemistry, and I didn't really want to do that. I wanted to do something more with analysis, and so it was like, okay, what else is here? There's drug metabolism. I can combine it. It's the same field. And so I went to the director of graduate studies and he said, but there's no degree for that. Like, what are you going to be called? I said, okay, can I be called XYZ? Can we make a new area? I had
basically you created a course for yourself.
Exactly.
Are you kidding me? And it's not bold. Really? What would you have done? Sell to the whole school to consider yourself bold?
So after that, though, they started awarding degrees in this particular
how is a plaque with your name somewhere? Commissioned by Otito.
But it was just a question of, I knew that I would not be successful in going just one route. So I said, can I combine? So it was like a potpourri, right?
Yeah.
Combine all the areas that I loved to study and then get a degree that will be broad and not just box me in. Yeah.
And now even you went from basic sciences and then you went for a fellowship to help you bridge what you do in basic sciences to translate that into clinical. Dang it.
Yeah.
Tell us more about that.
So after the reason that I went into pharmacogenomics, I don't know if there are people, the people that are listening, but if you've ever had what do you call it? You take sulfonamides and you have an adverse drug reaction.
You almost die from something.
Yes, most likely. I am not going to say certainly, right? Because you have to do the gene testing. Yeah. It's not absolute, but most likely you probably have a genetic variant that makes you different. Makes you not metabolize the drug as well as other people.
Or fast metabolizer with the CYP40.
So I happen to be one of those who cannot take the sulfur drugs, and so I, back then in school they would say, "Oh, it's idiosyncratic, like it just happens." But then the science evolved, right? It's not idiosyncratic. There are terms for this. There are genes. There, we know what is causing this now. So I wanted to study that a little bit more because I got introduced to it in grad school. So then I started looking for fellowships that would expose me a little bit more to that. So Vanderbilt happened to accept me, right, for the federally funded fellowship. So then I transitioned from Philadelphia to Tennessee.
So why, you did your postdoc in Vanderbilt?
Yes.
Why didn't you just go to industry? Because your job fits very well into, maybe helping drug delivery and all of that. Why did you choose academia?
So for me, I never even really considered the industry at the time. I really wanted to go to academia or regulatory sciences, which would be the, FDA, right? So I had those two options open, and then when the academia option opened up for me, I took it because I always say that there's nothing like real job experience, right? You can be in training forever. It's all nice and well, but you need to get thrown on the job to be able to start doing the things you need to do, right? As opposed to being a trainee forever. So
now, in academia, you're in a tenure track. So for those wondering, that's basically two major tracks. If you go into academia, there's a traditional one, which is a tenure track, and there's a non-traditional pathway. Now, tenure track, usually they'll say there's a trinity to it: research, scholarship, and teaching, RST, right? So research, it might give you a metric, you have to have, when you're up for tenure, usually people say it takes about 5 to 8 years, depending on how you spin it, have maybe or a decade. Oh yeah, in some places, we won't mention the names. Vanderbilt. So you have to have like X number of publications, say like 15. That means maybe 3 per year if you're doing a 5-year thing. And then for the scholarship, they want you to maybe serve in a committee or back to the research, and then bring in X amount of grant to the school. It might range from $250,000 to millions and above, depending on the kind of university you're rolling with. Vanderbilt. And then finally, teaching is where they see how you go to teaching, if you're developing courses, if you're supporting established courses that are being taught. Now, in academia, what would you say of those 3 factors has been the most challenging for you, and why?
For me right now, it'll probably be the R, because I'm not in a R-focused institution, right? I guess you didn't mention that those institutions would be R1.
Oh, that's true. That's true. The tier 1 and
tier 1, tier 2 research focus. So, for me, I have to work extra hard at that to make sure that I'm still very relevant in that space.
Yeah. So R, and now in academia, there are many people. I've talked to so many people because I just started last year. Looking back to your experience, what are some of the challenges you faced apart from the R part, but just integrating from even though you did a postdoc, right? So you went from postdoc. Some people didn't do that.
Yeah.
Was that helpful for you? And if no, what are some of the challenges you had to?
It was very helpful for me because, at the postdoc stage, I kind of feel like you get more mature because there's a lot of more responsibility that is put on you at that stage. So it's almost like a transition stage. And so when you transition to the full position, you're not too overwhelmed. I think that the major challenge will be literally being overwhelmed because it's a lot of work. And it's not like you're extra trained for this, right?
Yeah.
You're trained to get a PhD. You were not trained to do RST in your first year, right? And be good at it. Yeah. So,
tips for first year, for early career, what they call early stage investigators, early stage career people in academia. What are some of the tips? Some bold tips for thriving. Yeah.
Just make room for yourself, I think, because you're going to get feedback, whether solicited or unsolicited, right? And so you want to be sure that you take the constructive part of that, work with it, and then just discard whatever is not serving you.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll add to that. I think based on what I was told before is learn the power of saying no. Not everything is going to be useful to you. And the best way to know what will be useful to you is make sure you meet with your dean and find out the departmental goals, like what they need for you to get to tenured. What are the metrics? So you already have the end in mind. Then work your way back slowly towards it. You don't have to, you're not there to change the world the first year. Be very selfish of your time. And it wasn't something that was easy for me to do. It's still not easy for me to do because my temperament is, I can do it all, I can do it all personality. But you have to learn to say no and learn the importance of community. Building supportive people around you. Not everybody will have your interests at heart. Not because they are bad people, but they don't have those resources. So learn how to use people very well. And so I think that's what I really, really wanted to add to what you said. Now conferences. Yeah. These things are really, really very expensive. It's why we had to share this room together. Would you suggest for those that might be that are new as well, what would you say about conferences and their importance in even helping you build your tenure?
Well, I'm not sure about helping you build your tenure because, if you're a very networky kind of person, you can probably make collaborations there, but bear in mind that those collaborations are not going to yield immediate fruit, right? You have to work it. If you're going to be writing a paper, it's going to be a while, to develop that relationship and write a paper. But in terms of meeting people, because it's not something you can do all by yourself. In terms of just meeting people, getting your name out there, getting what you do out there, even volunteering, there's some organizations where they don't even want to know what you do, right? Not that what you do is number, but just volunteering and showing your face and all. Everybody remembers you, right? And so when you need a favor or something some other time, you're bound to have somebody there who refer you to somebody, because they talk about 6 degrees of separation, that many times people try, when you're networking, you're trying to get the thing from the immediate person, but that is never really that. It's typically someone they know who knows somebody
who
else.
knows somebody. So, kind of like the James Bacon. What's his name? Bacon. There's an actor. You can draw this. Kevin Bacon. Yeah, there's a Bacon factor. Like there's a way you can like map out an actor that knows me. Like a 6 degree. Like it's the perfect person. Almost like the Pascal triangle. I've said so much.
I mean, that's what the conferences do for you.
And
then if you keep going to the same conferences, you keep seeing people, they keep recognizing you, as it were, remembering you, and that's it. You kind of
I think as a new person, I kind of like to see people on a spectrum. Those that are new like me, those that have people like you that have gone a little bit further, and then those that are almost at the end stage of their career. And I like to just see, how the confidence just moves from. Like last year was, even though it was my first time as a faculty, I was so nervous and I was so frustrated and I was so antsy about things because I wanted to talk to everybody, I wanted to play nice, and it was very stressful. But this time I noticed that I had a cooling factor. Like, you know what? I'm just going to take my time and navigate this space. I don't have to worry. It's not that serious. Exactly. So next year, I don't know what I'm going to do. Maybe sell the whole conference. I don't know. Since I'm taking tips on how to be bold for you. So another thing I know about you have 2 kids. And so when we're talking about women in academia and how we don't do so well compared to our male counterparts, I think another thing we try to forget about is the maternity leave when you get pregnant and have kids and you have to leave, because there's no way, no matter how much you try, those times you're taking to go boldly on newborn baby, you can't be doing research then. So by the time you come back, you have to, try to plug back in. Take for example, I don't have kids, but coming to this conference, my whole schedule has already kind of turned away. By the time I go back to my workplace, almost as if I'm just starting from the first time and having to catch up on emails and things I have to do. Now imagine being gone for 90 days or for however long you've gone. What would you say for those that, even, and this problem is not just germane to women, even fathers, when their wives have kids, a little part of their life might be disrupted as well. It's not like a bad disruption, but it's still a disruption nonetheless. Now, kids in academia, can you talk more about that? What are the pros and cons? And if you could do it again, would there have been a better time or not?
No, there's no better time. I don't think there's a better time to have children. Just do what you need to do. So I happen to have quite a different trajectory, and I am very thankful for that, and I don't take it for granted. That I had my first son when I was done with all my graduate work and I was just writing my dissertation. But here's the thing, you may say, oh, well, you were, but he also paid for it, because for maybe 3-4 months, I would just feed him and go back to writing because I wanted to get that phase of life over with. And then my second son, I had him during my fellowship, which is not, the same as being on tenure track where the clock is ticking, right? And because it was a federally funded fellowship, you had full pay for, X number of weeks. So I didn't have to deal with the added trauma of thinking about FMLA and all of that. So I consider myself very fortunate in that regard. And
then even now, even in your role as an assistant professor, it's not like you're not giving your full 100% participation. Because you have those 2 treasures.
So, and that's the God honest truth. In terms of, I cannot stay at work on certain days beyond 5 o'clock because I have to go get the kids from school, right? And for people who say, when I get home I'm working, I think that work will be right at 10 o'clock after you put the kids to bed. But remember, you have to be refreshed for the next day so you can have a productive day. So it becomes like, this continuous cycle of you deciding, do I get my sleep so I don't have, a B face the next day because I have all the students I have to face with my game face on, or do I keep walking like a fiend? So sometimes, there are certain seasons where you do that, but then there are other certain seasons where you're like, no, let me be ready for the students because they are my primary responsibility. So
We have a question from one of the listeners.
Yes.
Thank you, by the way. It makes us feel like we're not just talking to ourselves. Is there a right time for marriage?
Is there a right time for marriage?
Yeah.
Okay, that's
a very good question.
One.
Yeah, very good question.
It depends on you and the person that you're dating. And if you feel like you're ready, then you go ahead and you do what you need to do, right?
Yeah.
So again, for someone like me, I got married in grad school, which is the
you
funny
got married
thing.
in grad school?
Yes.
What year?
2008.
Like what? So third year or final year?
So 2008, I had just finished my qualifying exams.
So you had about 2 more years.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got pregnant towards the end.
Yes. So I made sure that I finished, all of my lab work.
Yeah, you're in a prime position to answer this question.
Mm-hmm. What's the question?
Was it difficult for you before? Think about the time before you got married and after you got married.
Mm-hmm.
Was there did you feel held back in a way?
No, I didn't.
Why do you think that is? Is it husband specific?
Yeah, he was very supportive, and he was like, "This is what I was doing before we got married, so there will be no reason for it to, stop now."
So he understood your schedule. Mm-hmm. So find yourself someone that understands, your line of work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was it, as in. Yeah. But again, the getting married part of it was interesting because here I had a wedding a week away, and I was away at a conference in Canada.
Yeah. Really?
Yes.
So did you guys do your honeymoon there?
No, we did our honeymoon in where's this place? Off of Florida. Bahamas. Can you imagine? I forgot it. So yeah, I was in Canada and everyone was like, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Well, I'm a graduate student. I do not want it to be like I'm being distracted by a wedding, and so I have to go for this conference."
You took that seriously. Yeah. This is gonna happen again. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think in some, when we think about when you find the right person, a supportive person, don't think of them like someone that can intrude your schedule or dismantle whatever you're working on. They could also be an added source of support. Remember how I chimed in earlier on about how grad school can be miserable, lonely. Those are my specific words.
Yeah.
She said lonely. I qualified by saying miserable, lonely process. Having someone that supports you, that they know what you're going through. Like I'm married as well, like some of you know, and I'll say I have 50 shades of my 50 shades of emotions. Like when I'm high and sad, like almost like 1 minute, and your project isn't going well, things you have to do. But having someone that supports you, that sees that okay, you can do this, like your cheerleader, that could also be very good. Because only so much a friend can do for you, really, no matter how good they are. Yeah. All right. Another question I had for you was this. So, hold on. This is kind of awkward. What are my questions? For what's the future of pharmacy? Like, what are you excited about as far as the future of pharmacy is concerned?
You mean here in America?
Yes, in America.
I think that we are going to get to provider status, which will be like a turning point for many of the things that we've been pushing for.
For those who don't know provider status, you want to explain to them.
So provider status is where you're able to, at least in certain areas, be able to prescribe certain drugs and be able to bill for your services as a healthcare provider. That's the summary of it.
Because currently, pharmacists are not even recognized as healthcare providers in the US at all. And there's some other, non-medical, like for example, nurses practitioners. So it doesn't even lend that full agency to pharmacy practice. So but what is that like? Okay, so we're able to do more. Is that what you mean?
Yes. You can expand your, not expand, but at least get compensated for what you're already doing, because a lot of pharmacists, are doing all of this uncompensated work. In my opinion.
Now, another question I want to ask you is intercollaboration, interprofessional collaboration. Do you get to do that?
Yes, right now. I mean, I work with people in pharmacy practice right now, but I'm thinking of extending it to other health professions.
Do you work with? Have you worked with doctors before?
When I was at Vanderbilt, yeah.
How was that like for you?
I was in a medical school, so everyone, it wasn't bad, if that's what you're saying. Like, most of the physicians I work with were researchers, so they already kind of, knew the space, so they weren't coming from a perspective of at the top of the totem pole and everybody has to do what I'm saying. No, it was all a very collegial collaboration. Yeah.
Good. And we're done with all of that. I don't know if you wanted to add anything else.
Let's see. Add in what regard, in what respect? So in respect to everything
we've talked about so far, because I want to go into the extra questions that are...
no, it's fine. Let's move on. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So in summary, as far as this is concerned, you can still throw your questions out here. Don't forget that mentoring is very important. Try to speak up, not just for yourself, but for those around you. Build your sense of community. If you're new to this space, learn to say no. And know that it might take a little bit of time to get used to it, but you'll eventually find your rhythm. And then you begin to survive and then thrive.
And thrive.
You can tell when we listen to the same lecture. Now, adjusting to the educational system here. Let's go back a little bit. What was that like for you? Because you went to university in Nigeria like I did.
Yeah.
And I want to see if our stories really match up. Like, go back to the first day of
I'm
class.
already laughing because I'm going to have to use some local language here, right? So when I first came to the US, I mean, you're coming straight from a bachelor's program, which I had completed 5 years ago. I was doing other things like I alluded to. And I come and I'm thrown, like literally thrown into the lion's den.
Yeah.
And I remember attending my first pharmacology class, and I remember the professor saying, well, I mean, I don't think, I don't want to, say things and make it seem like he was being nasty, because I learned to give everybody the benefit of doubt. And I don't think he was trying to be, superior or whatever. I think he was just stating what he thought was a fact in his own mind.
Yeah.
And he said, that here, all of you, a lot of international students, you're here now, this, that, and that a lot of you have been local champions. He actually used that word in your country.
Wait, is he African?
No. You've been local champions in your country, and now you're here, you're going to find out it's different and all and all. And I said to myself, this guy does not know what Agidu Inu means. Agidu Inu, right?
Yeah.
Agidu Inu means inner strength. Like,
but there's a word for it.
Even
inner strength is even kidding. It's inner stubbornness. Like inner resilience plus stubbornness plus strength.
What?
Nigerian
no
version.
Idea that you're talking to a girl.
You think it's easy to collect visa and leave that country? Who wants to go back there? Just kidding.
I studied like a fool. I don't know how to, and I mean, I got like 100% in that course, but it was a lot of work. Yeah. But it was because of that challenge that this guy threw on the first day of class. I'm like, what?
You shouldn't have said anything.
I know, that's what I'm saying. And I said, what? And so I think his view or perception of me changed since that day. We're very good friends. I mean, we if he sees me, we chat, we say hello. But for the life of me, I'm like, how can you enter a classroom and say this to a sea of people?
You never know who's who,
So that it took a while though. That was pharmacology. The chemistry part, even though I'm telling you that I loved chemistry, the advanced organic chemistry I took in this country made me cry many, many nights. But again, it was still the Agidi Inu of I have to get this stuff. I just have to get this stuff no matter what it takes. I bought the biggest books, I bought molecular models, I did everything I needed to do. Which is why sometimes when I'm telling my students, I said, I wish I could take you back, how many years ago was that? 12 years ago or what? I wish I could take you back, because we say these things and you think, she's just saying it, but there's a certain level of self-efficacy that you need to push through, because there are people who just sit there and think you're never going to succeed, and you want to prove them wrong if you can.
We have a question from another listener. Well, thank you so much, Ahmed. He finished from my school. He works now as an assistant professor in a university in Saudi Arabia. Yeah. And he wants to know, how do you try he wants to keep working on campus only from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Since you have 2 kids, you have another kid, Ahmed. Congratulations, I didn't know that. I know you had a boy. Do you think it's possible?
That's what I do now. So I don't know about thinking it's possible. That's what I have to do.
You have to make those rules. You have to talk to your dean to let you out.
No. As long as your what's the word? The fruit of your work is showing. Like you're not there sitting down and being non-productive.
So show that. You may even end up doing more than most people
whatever
do.
the terms of your productivity are. just ensure that you're providing them. Actually, I say this about grad school, and I say that because the work had to be done. I've never been, ever been a subscriber of staying in the office late and trying to pretend like you're working just to make people feel like you're working. I'd rather go home and sleep. That's just me. So yeah.
Because if I don't feel 100%, I'm not in there. Like I'm like my body's there, but my soul is not here. It's somewhere else. Very good. For your kids, would you want them to go into your profession?
For my kids, I'm raising them to be anything they want to be.
Really?
Anything.
That doesn't sound like a Nigerian movie.
I know, right?
Did you mean doctor?
No, not at all. Because I keep saying, like, for my son now, for instance, he's not really allowed to play computer games. And when we're
the oldest one,
the older one,
really,
yes,
not anytime.
No, I mean he does, because these children pick this stuff up really quickly. So he does his stuff. He will go to the library. He does his stuff. But to buy him a console and have him do that, no. And this is what I tell him. And you're free to tell your kids that I said you be the one coding the games for people and not the consumer.
So that was kind of pushing him towards coding and
not really, stuff. But
denying agency to his
we're in the world of artificial intelligence.
Anybody can do anything.
Yes, you cannot sit there, gaming away, and then people are somewhere coding the thing that you're gaming away. So yes.
How much you send him to coding school?
That's in the future actually, but he's still a very young child, so it's like, okay, let's see where this will take us. So
impostor syndrome. Have you experienced that? Or did you even know when you experienced that I was impostor syndrome?
No, not at the beginning. It's later when you become wiser that you realize that's what it is.
I knew something was wrong with me. I knew it was just not in my head.
Well, like I said, that over time you learn to walk into a room and say, I worked hard enough to be here, so I'm not going to let anybody make me feel weird. But yeah, all through grad school, you go for these conferences, these seminars, and you feel so nervous, like, I'm not sure my research, I'm not sure it's going to stand up to scrutiny and this and that. It's not a good place to be. And so you're like, I don't want to keep feeling this way, right? What do I need to do to hold my head up high and just feel like at least I've worked hard enough to be where I am today?
I think another thing that helps, I've experienced that, but I just didn't know what it was. Because initially I felt shameful about it, because I'm like, I don't know who to talk to. They might even think I'm really a fraud the way I'm really thinking. But then in talking to my ever capable mentor about, she's like,
have the same thing too. Yeah.
And she was so, of course everybody goes through that. I was like, wait, what? She didn't even look at it. Like I wouldn't have touched her or something like that. Yeah. But one of the things that has really helped me is talking about it. Talk about it. Like I go through these, times where I feel like, I don't know, I don't feel like I'm smart enough to be here. But then you look at all the things you've done.
Yeah.
And you sit down and do your yearly review. And like
people who have the type A personality.
I think it is.
Just keep feeling like you're not doing enough. But then people say, look at all the stuff you've achieved, and you're like, I don't think so.
Yeah. So it's that. That's that. Okay, thanks for adding to that. Now I want to just ask, what are your extracurricular activities? Because I believe that it's good to have a balanced life, and not many people know how to balance that. Because I think I would think of time as 24 hours. If I do these extracurricular activities, it's going to take out time from what I should be doing. I know how to play well. I know how to work hard. When I'm playing, best believe I try not to think about work. I'm in it 100%, the same way I'm in work 100%. Do you believe in that kind of having that work life
dichotomy, right?
Yeah, not even balance, because balance is an illusion.
No, it's not balance.
It's nothing balancing
anymore. It's a dichotomy.
Or integration in a way.
Presence, mindfulness. When you're here, you're here. When you're there, you're there. Yeah, so my extracurricular activities, I love to cook. I run a blog or a website called otiscocina.com. Cocina is the Spanish word for kitchen. And so it's almost like saying Otis Kitchen, right? And that's, my kids actually gave the name Momstaurant, because they're like, you're a mom and you're running a home restaurant, or you're cooking like, you're in a restaurant. So maybe it's going to be a Momstaurant, right? So that's copyrighted right there.
Momstaurant.
But I love cooking. I just love it. It's my therapeutic release, really. And again, I say again, maybe because of all the chemistry I've done, I can just like throw things together and get a product. And I just love the process. It's very, very therapeutic for me. And so I have the YouTube channel, like you were saying, where I try to share some of my recipes. And even though I'm Nigerian by birth and I can make every kind of Nigerian dish, I can make it, I can throw it down, but I kind
of like following
to...
recipe as a chemist. You want to just do exactly the same thing. Is that it?
No.
Is the pharmacists make good cooks because we're used to following recipes?
That much is true.
That
much. Or used to following directions, right?
Yeah.
So I kind of try to make foods from around the world. I'm very adventurous in the kitchen in that regard.
Yeah. What books are you currently reading?
So right now, I just finished reading a book. This is for the women folk. It's called Girl, Wash Your Face. Like, wash your face.
Isn't it fix your face, that kind of thing?
No, it's wash your face of you're still like, dreaming. Like,
like snap out of it.
on your face, something like that.
What's the book about?
Snap out of it.
That's
so it's
I don't know.
It's a book where the author takes the kind of lies that women tell themselves. I'm not enough. I'm not.
It's a black woman narrative.
No. But that's why the book resonated so much with me. I told all my friends, I recommended it to everyone. I said, you see, we all have the same experiences, whether you are on a different skin color or not. You just need to be able to express it out. Like, she was telling all this story, and I said, this could have been me. And the book really, really resonated with me. I just finished reading that one. And then I also I read High Performance Habits, and right now I'm reading a book called Off the Clock, doing more without feeling like overwhelmed.
Yeah. So
those are the books I'm currently reading. All right, I finished one, and then I'm reading the other two.
I'm reading a Korean book.
Okay. What is the title of the book?
Sarangatashi, something like Loving Again or something.
Oh, okay.
It's a collection of poetry.
Yeah,
okay. So I'm trying to increase my Korean experience.
Okay.
I'm also reading a book by Dennis Prager called Happiness is a Serious Issue.
Okay.
And that's
sounds
that.
Nice, yeah.
What else I want to ask you about that book stuff? Thank you, I forgot. Anyways, so books. What book would you say has impacted you the most?
There's a book that I read when I was in college, right? A long time ago. I still have that book. I actually bought it, I think, twice over because people will steal it and run away.
Where's your copy?
Yeah,
just in case.
It's in my library at home. It's called Growing Strong in the Seasons of Life. It was just a very comprehensive book that, it's a Christian book, for the people who are religious, but that book was sort of an anchor for me because it lets you know that the seasons of life will come, right? It's not if, it's when. And so how do you prepare for them, if anything, So that was one book that impacted me really much. The two authors whose writings have inspired me over the course of time is Charles Swindoll, Max Lucado. Right, those two people, have inspired me quite a great deal. Now I read other things, but back then I read those two authors quite a lot. And then in terms of fiction, pure fiction, I read like all the Francine Rivers series.
I don't read her anymore. I'm so outgrown them.
That's the thing, right?
Yeah. There was a time and place for that. Yeah. Right? I don't read those anymore.
Yeah.
Mental health in grad school and even right now. But do you have any specific stories to share about that? Or even how to even take care of yourself?
Yeah, I think that, as a grad student, take time out, maybe a weekend, you just go off. Don't even tell anybody where you are. And
go off the grid.
Yeah.
Turn off the phone, throw it away.
I think it's, important to do that. Travel if you can. Even if you can, go somewhere local where you can experience nature or get some experiences. Like, you build memories, right?
Yeah.
And so do that. Because I remember a certain period of time, which is why I said my husband was very supportive. At some point, everyone thought I had lupus. Yeah, which is interesting. Going that you studied lupus. I did not have an autoimmune syndrome. I was just completely stressed.
They didn't do your blood test and all that?
They did everything, and it said, perhaps, because it was like I was developing all these auto antibodies. They later cleared, but I think it was really due to stress. Yes, I was completely stressed.
Wow.
I could not lift my left arm. It was just a weird season, and so that's the reason why now, after going through that experience of almost, I don't want to use the word dying because it was very serious. I said, you know what? Nothing. Once I get this degree, I'm not going to allow anything stress me to this point where I'm physically feeling physical symptoms. So I guard my health space very seriously.
Yeah.
Like, I don't take it for granted anymore.
Yeah. And for some of us, we might not have physical symptoms, but if you have physical symptoms, you can know how to, at least handle it. I think the worst is the mental symptoms.
Yeah.
Where you can't even do anything anymore. You get burnt out.
Yeah.
Your capacity to do menial tasks, like things you could do before in a busy way, you can't do them anymore.
Yeah.
So before you get to that, get a balance, like find ways to, give back to yourself. Give back to yourself. Almost like if you had workers, you'll not do without paying them their monthly wages, right? So find ways to give back to yourself. It's like paying yourself for all the hard work you've done. So that's that. Finally, travels.
Yeah.
You travel a lot. How many countries have you been to?
I cannot count, and I don't say that lightly. So the thing is,
can we just pause? Look at you just showing off.
No, I am not showing up. That's why I want to take you back. The first time that I got on a plane, I think I was 15 or 16.
Where'd you go?
I went to, I was going for my grandma's funeral, so somehow I think somebody in my family was able to snag a free flight. Yeah, a free flight.
Within Nigeria.
A free flight that they begged for because I needed to come from school. I was still in school and I needed to just quickly go. So there was no time to go by road. So for some, that was the first time I got on a flight. And I remember being in that aircraft and I'm saying, wow, is this what it feels like to fly? And then my first time out of the country, I was a full-grown adult. I was maybe 25 or something, 26. And I remember I went to a West African country, Ghana at the time.
What took you
there?
there?
I remember my husband lived there at the time. My husband now lived there at the time. So it was an opportunity to visit. So that was my first international country that I visited. So it holds a dear space in my heart. And I remember when the guy, stamped the passport, I said, I am going to travel a whole lot from this point onwards. Like it was just something that I saw it happening. I think I was 25 at the time. And so I made a conscious effort that I'm going to build in travel to other countries, other cultures, other locales, just into my space if, I can afford it. The key word being
affordability. Yeah. Travel ain't cheap.
Travel ain't cheap. And another goal that I set for myself was never to travel on credit, right?
Yeah.
So
that's a Nigerian factor. Whatever money you don't have, don't spend it.
You have to save for the travel and not just, traveling and making it seem like you're having this wonderful life, then you have to come back and be paying off some debt somewhere.
Good. So, do you know how many? More than 20?
No, not more than 20. But I've been to quite a few places. But I also, within America, I love to travel within America because America is a great and it's a beautiful country.
Yeah.
And I kind of find it sad that even people who are indigents, right? They don't, some of them don't travel.
They don't live 5 miles away from now.
Yeah. So I try to travel like within America. I try to make it. So the goal for America is to go on all of the.
How many states have you been to?
I think majority of them because of the conferences though. So sometimes it's, flying, sometimes it's a train, like I came to Boston by train. But the goal is to go on all the I's, right? Eisenhower interstate system. I want to be able to travel on all of them. So,
If it's travel on I-35, you'll have, gone across 6 states because it crosses from, I think, one part of Texas to Canada. So you can knock that out of there.
Yeah.
Anyways, good. Well, do you have any questions for me specifically about the show or something you're curious to know about me?
Yeah, so I was asking you again, just like you would probably ask me, like, how are you able to run your, research program and do all of that? Like, I still am amazed.
Just kidding. I don't know. It's just, I think if I want to preach about living a somewhat integrated life of your passions, then I have to lead by example, right? And believe me, there's nothing I would do more than spend all of my time working on research that matters to me. But I've gotten to a point where I lost all zeal to do those kind of things.
Okay.
I've seen the dark side of how exhaustion can take away the joy from things I love doing.
Yeah, sure.
And I was burnt out for a long time. And my mentor told me, you need to go see a counselor. So I had to go to therapy. And I realized that, okay, your perfectionist tendencies are not really helping you. I used to be that person that will put, what's your weakness? Perfectionist, My goodness, what a horrible thing to do on CV. I wouldn't even hire me anymore.
I know, right?
It's a dangerous.
I keep saying I wouldn't have hired myself 7 years ago. Mm-hmm.
But I know those tendencies now. It's more about self-awareness.
Yeah.
And so when this is for me a good way to like be creative, because I'm a creative person. I like to like bring ideas to life. So what I do right now, the same tenacity of doing this podcast is the same tenacity I apply to my research.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so to me, and when I'm like away from research and I do podcasts or learn Korean or take my students around and or hang out with friends, it's still that mindfulness space. Because then when I go back to work, I'm already recharged. It's like the example I gave you, being in the shower. Mm-hmm. You get all your fantastic ideas in the shower. Mm-hmm. Why? Because you're not focusing on anything, but it's coming to you. So yeah, that's it. This to me is to make me more diligent, productive mm-hmm. at my research. And my research time also makes me more productive because the commonality there is me, right? Mm-hmm. And I have to give back to myself. I have to understand myself better. Mm-hmm. So it's not any work for me than mm-hmm. my research is work for me. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's that. Yeah. Anyways, thank you. That was a good question.
Yeah.
I really, really thank you for letting me share your story. And I also want to thank you for, even though I stood up in that mm-hmm. conference or like talk, mm-hmm. you saw something in me to make you approach me and talk to me. Mm-hmm. I appreciate that. And you've really, really been very, I don't know if you remember, you took me to the quadrangle and you talked to me because I was just having a very tough time trying to integrate into academia, and you gave me a lot of tips that I wrote down. So I want to say thank you. Mm-hmm. In addition to just being someone that talks the talk, you actually walk the walk. Because if not, I wouldn't have. Because we kept in touch in that time.
Yes.
So I want to say thank you so much. You're giving nature has impacted someone like me, and it gives me hope that there's still good people out there. That people just don't say they're gonna help you or they're gonna do stuff, but they don't do that. So thanks for being a very good support system and for not just closing the door.
Okay.
You got the door open, but you didn't close it behind you.
I'm learning a lot from you. I'm learning how to, juggle stuff. Remember when I started the YouTube channel, I sent it to you and you were like, the thing you have to do is be consistent. And I said, pray for me. Pray for me, sister, because, but I followed that advice. I said, no matter what, I mean, except there's a loss of life or something, I'm gonna try and show up every Saturday because you just never know who you're going to be impacting, and if it's just the one person, then it's just all well and good.
Well, thank you. Thank you, everyone. This was a More Sibyl podcast. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to your podcast episodes on. Check out www.moresibyl.com for other episodes that have been taped. If you have any questions or you'd like to be on the show to talk about your story, whether off video, off screen or on screen, however, I'll be more than happy to share your story. All right, talk to you guys later and have a wonderful day or night wherever you might be in part of the world. This is Boston.
Bye.
Ciao. Annyeong.
Chowder.
Oh, that's true. We'll see chowder. It's a nice one.